Welcome to the Ask Brian podcast radio show, where you'll hear from some of the most successful founders and CEOs of businesses and startups, sharing their best advice for success and even some stories on how their mistakes actually make them even more successful. Now, here are your hosts, Brian and Tracy.
Welcome. You're listening to the Ask Brian radio show on KHS 1220 and 98.1 FM. So, everybody, I don't know about you, but I'm in Los Angeles and it is pouring rain. So, yes, that fallacy that it never rains in sunny California, that's not exactly true. It took me triple the time to get to the studio today, and it is raining cats and dogs and everything else that they go. Okay, so some of you have never listened to the show, and, you know, you're going to be in for a treat, I hope. But you don't know what the reason why the show is called Ask Brian, especially since my name is Peter. Where did he come up with the name Ask Brian, and what does it stand for? Well, first of all, Brian is spelled with an E, B-A-S-K-B-R-I-E-N, and the real reason we switched to Ask Brian was when I attempted to get a domain name, there was no Ask Peter or Ask David, Ask anything else. The only thing else we had available was Ask Milt, Ask Hall, or Ask Brian with an E. So we went with E.
Personally, I'm partial to the Ask Milt show.
Did you say Ask Milton?
No, Milt.
Milt.
Oh,
M-I-L-T.
yeah,
And I didn't even...
that could have been easily misunderstood. I'm glad you went with Ask Brian.
Well, yes, we're not talking about married, whatever. But anyway, I didn't even know that Hall was a proper noun. So I discovered that one too. So I guess back in the 1920s, everyone was calling themselves Hall. But, you know, the only one I know was Monty Hall, and that's the last name. So. Yes, we finally got a sound. Can you give me a drum roll?
That wasn't me.
No.
That was not me.
Well, you need some sounds. You need some sounds. It's Christmas time. You have any Christmas bells? Give me a Christmas bell.
It wasn't me.
It was coming from my end, but I don't have the rest of my sound system set.
That was great, though.
Well, you're on cue. Maybe you can be a regular on the show.
You're already fitting in.
Yes, but he doesn't know what he got himself into. So this week, our engineer, Emily, is out sick, so we have our distinguished engineer who was here for many years, Mr. Patrick.
Hey-o.
And Patrick...
Patty's in the house!
Whoop, whoop.
Yeah, well, where are the sounds? Why are you going, woo-woo? You got to get something going. Check out your sound bells. Come on, you got something there. It's Christmas time.
You know what? Oh, fine. Let me look. Keep
While
talking.
he's doing that, people want to know why we spell Brian with an E, and we're going to ask you why. You're on the spot. Johnny on the spot.
Oh, you're talking about me?
Yeah, even Johnny.
My
on
name's
the spot,
not Johnny.
Johnny on the spot is just a basic
a reference
cliche.
I see. So the E's, oh, Lord,
it's not because you're Irish and we go to O'Brien's pub every week.
Yeah, sure. Well, you know, I'll give you that.
But Brian is spelled with an E. O'Brien.
It's true. It's been a cool minute, ladies and gentlemen. The E's. Oh, he gave me excitement before we even got on camera.
It's not excitement. It's excitement. Woo, woo, woo!
Well, he's definitely got
excitement.
He's definitely got the enthusiasm with it too.
Enthusiasm.
It's like Sesame Street. I love it.
Well, that's when we get to a further ado.
Yeah, that's the
Sesame Street.
Oh, I remember that now.
Mr. Bird.
Big Bird. All right.
And you know, with Christmas time, we might see the Cookie Monster.
We might.
Cookie Monster!
Christmas time.
Well, I think there was experts was a word. Was a good one because everybody's an expert in their field on the Ask Brian show. There was experience because every distinguished guest is very experienced in their field of choice.
And also the person who's giving us the E's is experienced because he's been doing this for how long?
2 years now, I think.
No
roughly.
way.
It's been
2
there.
years?
I think so. Literally, I think 2 years.
Wow.
I know, right? Let's see. Experts, enthusiasm, excitement. There was empathy.
Empathy, that's what I was going to say. He's showing a lot of empathy to you today.
He
goes
is.
to show what happens when you're gone. He misses you.
He really does.
He
I just realized he's being super nice. I'm scared.
Don't worry, we'll be back.
Oh,
By
no.
the way, where are the sounds? Don't you have dun dun dun?
Oh no,
dun?
I have the sounds.
bring some on.
Wow, I was waiting for your cue, Mister.
Yeah, come on.
All right, well, Trace, I'll play this for you. So brace for impact on this one, Tracy.
Oh, no.
Amazing. Amazing.
Just not.
And one of the
just
big
not the
E's
same
that he
without
missed.
you, Patty.
He missed one of the big E's, which is we try to educate people.
That's right. Edgy. That's a new. I think that one was one of the newer ones, though.
6 months is not new.
It can be.
That's 26 times you had the opportunity. We're going to go right into the show without any further ado. How do you spell ado, Sesame Street character?
I'm going to turn the snuffle up against ADIEU bird.
And why do I like it?
Because every single letter except for the D is a vowel.
Anyway, we have a great guest today.
So true.
We have a great guest today, Brad Ledford. And what is the name of your company?
It is Avana, so that's the brand name. Parent name is VitalBev Inc.
So why do you have two different names?
Great question. Yeah, so we filed the company under VitalBev Inc. because, brands, sometimes they need to shift and change, and we didn't want to have to go through all of the, legalities of shifting and changing everything there. So our name Avana came about, and it kind of stuck for a number of reasons, and we can get into that once we get into, our product and everything, too.
So what's your background before you started this company?
Yeah, totally. So I was actually, by the way, the company is it's a tequila product, and so it's an alcoholic beverage, and we'll crack that down in a little bit. But I was actually a pre-med undergrad student at Chapman University down in Orange County. I played football there, and so I was studying to go to medical school, and I actually did a research project on ethanol metabolism with a professor there. And, that was not to decide what was going to be the next best seltzer or the next best alcoholic drink for everybody. Is more of a study for alcoholics and seeing, what compounds in ethanol, which one of their metabolites actually affect, thiamine deficiencies and a number of other things that you see when you consume too much alcohol, right? So I was doing that, and I kind of looked into the market a little bit and saw that, seltzers are getting more health conscious, but we could take it to a whole other level. And so that was about 3 years ago, actually, when I started doing that. And so that was my background before Avana. And now instead of, working in the hospital, I am making tequila and organic tequila.
So what does that mean, organic tequila? I mean, tequila itself is alcohol, so how do you make it organic?
That is a wonderful question. So everything from the actual piñas and the agave plants that we grow to make our tequila from, all the way to the other ingredients we add into our pre-made Paloma and Margarita, all has to be certified organic. And what that means that none of the fruit or the agave or the process of harvesting it uses any kind of artificial chemicals or preservatives to, allow those things to grow unnaturally. And this comes into big play when it comes to agave, because there's a lot of additives that some tequila companies will use to get more of these sugars out of the piñas after they're harvested, which is a very unnatural process. For us, we do it all by hand. We use a brick oven, very old school way of doing it. It's actually a 2-day process. So when you see organic, it's basically our promise to our consumers that we did things the right way. We didn't use preservatives. There are no chemicals extracting the sugars from our piñas. And the piña is the big fruity part that the tequila is made from. So that's really what organic means.
So when you started this company, was it just you, or did you have other people with you?
Yeah, it was just me. So, like I said, I was an undergrad student at Chapman University. I saw that there was actually at the time no tequila-based seltzers. Now there's a few. We actually are the first organic tequila-based one, but back then there was none, and I really believed that we could set a new standard for health consciousness for the industry. So I actually sold my car to get the startup money to go make the formulas and take step one, right? So I did that. I rode around on a motorcycle. I did that for about 6 months, getting the formulation down perfect, or at least good enough to raise a little money and get off the motorcycle. So that was kind of step one. And I brought on a partner, Austin Fisher, our COO, about 6 months after I started the company, and he's been with us ever since.
Well, it's a good thing you weren't drinking the tequila while you're driving on the motorcycle, because that could have been a
Right. Yes. Yeah, I stayed away from that. Absolutely.
So, how did you find a factory that was making this for you, or did you make it at home? How did you make it the first couple of?
Yeah, great question. So, I did start a little bit of that, back kitchen, bringing in some craft cocktail makers just from around the area in the Orange County area. So grab some people from Newport, some bars there, grab some people from bars in Orange, California, kind of just went to them and talked to them about what I wanted to make, and kind of, started going just to the drawing board. And I would say the biggest thing is when you get into making a health-conscious cocktail, it's like, where do you even start? You look at a margarita that you order at the bar, the amount of sugar that goes into it, the amount of calories that come out of it is just tremendous. So for us, it wasn't just about, okay, how are we going to make this thing taste amazing? It was, how are we going to make this thing taste amazing, but also be only 90 calories and 0 grams of sugar, no carbs, and keep it fully organic. So it was a combination of that, that in the kitchen taste testing with all of these craft cocktail people, but then also consulting with our formulators that actually we pulled them from Coca-Cola and Bacardi. And so we worked with them to really get this thing to have the right balance of, being a mindful beverage, but also tasting like something that has a little more, oomph to it than a typical seltzer, right?
And then for the packaging, did you use an outside company that did everything for you and you just used their plant, or how did you get that going? Yeah,
wonderful question. So I actually grew up with used to be Under Armour's lead designers. Now he works for Nike, but he was a good friend of mine growing up. We used to snowboard together. And so when I wanted to start this company, he was actually one of the first people that I called and was like, hey, this is a very competitive landscape. We need something that's going to, really show who we are on the packaging. So he is our creative designer now. And so he does everything from our packaging to our marketing material. His name is Adam Johnson, and he is just tremendous. He does a great job for Nike. He does a great job for us. And we're really excited to see some new stuff that will be coming from him this spring.
And he's not related to Brian Johnson on the show. So I just want everyone to know.
No. That's right.
Now, how did you sell your first batch?
Yeah, so the very first batch we actually offered D2C through a third party online. So you actually order straight off our website. So you go on our website and you can order a 4-pack all the way up to, I believe, a 24-pack straight to your doorstep. So that was how we actually launched, was just D2C, and we can ship to about 38 states, I believe it is. So even people in Virginia, they can order our product. There's a few states in the South that unfortunately can't due to some liquor laws. That's how we sold, the first couple, was just through word of mouth, like talking about it, trying some marketing tactics out. And then we sold our very first B2B case to actually Papa's Liquor down in Corona Del Mar. And they're actually one of our favorite accounts. They sell a lot of Avana, surprisingly. So yeah, that was actually our first little section. I brought that to them, in my car, not even using a distribution truck yet. So very, very local, very homegrown brand right here.
So 2 things. One is, how do you verify someone's over 21 when they're buying it online?
That's a great question. Yeah. So when they purchase it, basically they have to consent to signing for the package and showing their ID when they sign for the package. So when they purchase online, they're going to input their name, along with their address and everything else. And so basically what happens is when the delivery person comes with the package, they have a name on that package. And if it doesn't match their license, then they're not going to allow them to sign for it and give the package over to them. So you basically have to, make sure that you're going to be available to pick up the package when they bring it to your door. So they won't just leave it there and, leave. Otherwise, you could run into a very big issue with underage drinking there, right? So we cover that base by having that signing procedure and matching your ID with a delivery man.
So you started online, so that's a very interesting point too. You started online. Nobody knows who you are. You've got this, this brand, and it's a new brand. Nobody's ever tasted it before. So how did you attract your first customers?
Yeah, great question. So online, the main thing was we had a push with one of our investors. He's actually a tattoo artist in LA, and so he tattoos a couple of influencers, and so whenever he would tattoo them, he would just give them some of our prototypes and some of our samples, and some of them really latched onto it and loved it. So we actually, when we launched the online stuff, we gave them some samples a little bit early, and they were able to, tell their following about it and that kind of thing. So that actually really created a buzz around our D2C online launch. And you'd be surprised that you typically don't think about, buying a canned RTD or beer online. You typically only buy your very premium, hard to find bottles of whiskey or something like that online. But they actually did quite a few. We sold out, and I think it was only 2 weeks. We sold out of all of our inventory for the D2C that we had. So yeah, that's kind of how we did it. We did it kind of grassroots through some influencers that were getting tattooed by one of our investors. So that's kind of how we started out the gate.
So how did you find your investor?
He actually tattooed my business partner, Austin Fisher. So that was how we found him specifically. And, like I said, he has lots of connections that helped us out really early on. So he was a great value add to one of our first rounds of financing and really helped us out, just kind of building the grassroots section. And now our grassroots tactics are much more fun. We like to do a lot of in-person, B2B stuff. So working on premise with some of your local bars and clubs in LA and Orange County and throwing events, which I will say are the most fun events. So yeah, so kind of how we blended into everything else.
And probably more fun after they drink it. So
yes, it is.
What year did you start actually selling? You said 3 years ago you started with the concept. How long was it before you were selling? 6 months, a year?
Yeah, so long story short, we just started selling only 2 months ago. That's when we started our B2B selling. We had actually our launch event in Santa Monica and have been selling B2B only 2 months ago. So we are very new, but we have a good, strong account base that's growing just about every week now.
But you're also selling to consumers online. So when did that start?
Yeah, so that started over the summer. So that started in July. So we only had about 2 months of just D2C selling and then launched our B2B strategy just about 2 months ago. So that's kind of how that flowed into the B2B section.
Tracy, you had some questions you want to ask Brad?
Yeah, so Brad, everything sounds like it's really just moving great in terms of your product awareness, your brand awareness, and the organic marketing strategies that you talked about are really impressive. What types of marketing strategies do you have planned to go beyond just an organic strategy now that you've moved into B2B and still maintaining a B2C audience?
Oh, that is a wonderful question. So grassroots stuff has been great, and we have a lot more plans there. Now, expanding outside of that, expanding into some new markets, it is interesting because media buying, ad spend for Facebook and Instagram has been a little bit tricky as of late. And I think anybody that sells e-commerce or online can resonate with me there. So, we're looking at Right. Yeah. So we're looking at new avenues so how can we compensate for the return that we're losing, that we're not seeing all of our projections were predicting and what companies were seeing last year, 2 years ago, and everything. So we are turning our gears towards TikTok a little bit. So, we do have a younger demographic. The demographic is, from 22 all the way up to, your early 40s. So TikTok is not something that I don't think is too, early for us or too young of a demographic for us. I mean, obviously there are some, but the ads there have been interesting. It's a different platform than Instagram and Facebook, but it's something that we have been kind of testing with, and we're going to be launching our campaign for that in January, so right around the corner.
That's so smart because so many people have gravitated away from the Facebook and Instagram ads for that very reason to TikTok, and it seems to actually be now spanning all age demographics, where absolutely it was a younger demographic initially. So will you be filming TikToks at your live events and posting them, or what are you going to be doing specifically for your TikTok strategy?
Absolutely, yeah. So I would say one of the really cool things about Avana right now is our live events. So they'll definitely be incorporated into our TikToks because our live events are going so well. I mean, our launch event, nobody had really tried Avana yet, and the launch event we had only like word of mouth, like kind of peer-to-peer, and we had 600 people RSVP for our launch event in Santa Monica, and actually had to turn down quite a few people because we maxed out our venue. And the event was absolutely amazing. Actually, one of our partners now actually partnered with us because he was like, this is the best event I've seen in this venue before. So, it's been working out really great for us. So I think, showing people who we are through the kind of events that we throw, and then also, we want to go behind the scenes. A lot of alcohol companies aren't super transparent with the way that they produce their products. You see this big shift in dairy products and, vegetables and a lot of the farm-to-table stuff. Yet when it comes to the alcohol world, it's so strange. It's like, oh, let's keep it more of a secret. And, from my experience diving into the industry for the past, 3 years, I've seen why. A lot of these beverages, a lot of these seltzers that people are drinking have all kinds of just not natural stuff in them. I mean, everything from the alcohol coming from, just either a malt base or a distilled cane sugar base, all the way to, using things like erythritol and that kind of stuff. We want to show people that Avana is made from all organic and natural ingredients, and we can do that with, showing them the backstory, showing them, the back end of things. So I think that'll be also a big part of our TikTok campaign as well.
So when you initially said that you started this business on your own, that's a pretty big leap from going from being a pre-med student to not only just an entrepreneur startup, but a startup of a food and beverage product, A, one that's sold online, B, and then one that has all the restrictions and limitations that alcohol sales can have. What were some of the big, learning curve moments that you had?
Yeah, a wonderful question. So I would say the biggest thing, so we're the first company to organically can tequila. So when we started this venture, way back in 2019, I actually would go down to Mexico and connect with everybody I could in Jalisco and in some of the states where tequila can be produced, because it's actually restricted. It can only be made in one of 5 states in Mexico. You can't make tequila and call it tequila anywhere else in the world. So we were looking for a cannery there, and they could, can the tequila organically. And we even tried certifying a few. We couldn't get them to certify. And so we actually had to work out a way to can our product in Colorado. So, that was a really big hurdle that we had to get through because nobody had done it before. And it sounds like not that hard of a thing to do, but you'd be surprised, the hurdles that the organic certifiers make canneries and bottle facilities go through, So that was one of the big things. I mean, gosh, there's so many learning curves when it comes to marketing. It seems like I'm learning something new every day, whether it's like, hey, Facebook ads aren't doing it anymore, or, you need to look into how we're going to utilize NFTs and market that. We're getting into a lot of different spaces. So I'm drinking from a fire hose constantly. Seems like in almost every facet, but learning and figuring out how to can the product organically, since nobody else in the world had done it, and however old alcohol industry is, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years old. That was probably one of the biggest feats that we had to accomplish, but we, stuck with it and finally came out to the end with a good product.
And so you mentioned that you have a COO now. What other team members do you have? Are you still operating on a really tight, small team, and what are your plans for growth in terms of adding team and staff members?
Absolutely, yeah. So we do have a small team. Everybody is an absolute weapon in their section. So yeah, Austin Fisher is our COO. He's also our vice president, and he is just kind of like a Swiss Army knife. He does just about everything, anything that I need him to. Let's say I'm shorthanded on our marketing side, I'll be like, hey, learn everything you can about SEO. Go and find me an expert in it, and bring them back to us, right? So do some research, make sure you know what you're talking about, and then find an expert in it, right? And so He'll help me recruit. He'll help me with supply chain issues, which is really, really a challenge with, tequila coming from Mexico, cans and aluminum shortages, and just about shortages and everything else right now due to the pandemic and everything. And we also have our creative director, Adam Johnson, who does all of our design work. He's just absolutely amazing. Came from SCAD and worked for Under Armour, worked for Nike, and does an awesome job for us. We have our two formulators, Andre Riotica and Eric Meyer, and they both, Andre Riotica has experience with Coca-Cola and Bacardi, and he does a wonderful job, just stretching out as far as we can with innovation and trying to use new, better for you and mindful ingredients in all of our new SKUs. And then we have a marketing team that consists of about 5 people, led by Dylan Minstry and some people out of LA. And they are wonderful. They run our social. They do a lot of our strategy with the in-person events all the way to the B2B sales. We have our director of sales, and he is absolutely amazing. His name is Jonathan Guzman. And so he handles all of the California market B2B sales. And we also just brought on a really interesting one is our kind of Midwest sales team that we just partnered with. And he's actually the owner of the #1 White Claw account in 2020. So his facilities actually ordered more White Claw than any other account in the country in 2020. So he's our newest ad, and he will be kind of bringing Avana to the Midwest, which is really exciting for us.
That sounds like an amazing team, and obviously still room for growth, but a lot of great people in place. When you mentioned earlier that your first distribution delivery was from your car. I love that because that's such a great startup moment. I'm sure you'll probably always remember that. But now that you're preparing to scale and are in the process of scaling, how are you handling distribution?
Yeah, wonderful question. So for California, we are self-distributing. We are considering some partnerships. We have had a few reach out to us and put some options on the table. But one thing for us is, when it comes to distributor, a partnership is so crucial for us that it's the right partner. We don't want to just get on anybody's truck, because I've gone in person to retailers and met the buyers and met the dock managers for some of these. I mean, everything from bigger grocers to your mom and pop liquor store. And we hear so many, complaints about how distributors can treat them sometimes. And so, we like handling it, especially for our home market in-house. And, I think that is a really strong suit that we have. It helps us work with them. If they succeed, we succeed. We're not like selling pallets to a distributor and then saying, sayonara, good luck, right? We are actually partnering with all of our retailers that sign on with us. And, we don't only just take care of them in the delivery, but we take care of them making sure that our product, is moving off their shelves and that kind of thing. For outside of California, we're working with some independent distributors in specific states that we sell in. So we will be looking for more of a national distribution option, as long as we feel comfortable that they're going to take care of, our retailers and not neglect them.
I think that's so important that you're monitoring the distribution that well, because your brand is so early, and that aspect of getting the product to the end user, whether it's the B2B or the B2C, is so important to the customer service experience.
It so is. And, it's not just like making sure that our buyers are happy and the retailers happy, but also the consumers. I mean, if you walk into a store and a distributor isn't, prioritizing our product, then the product's going to be poorly placed. It might be upside down. It might have scratches in it. So, really trying to control every facet, even down to the distribution level, is really important, especially when you're new, because you can't have something go out that doesn't represent you perfectly, right? So, we have a lot of weight on our shoulders, but we're handling it really well, and we are, doing things the right way, and it's great to see the difference. We walk into a retailer that we personally distribute to, and I see the difference in just the way that the buyer greets me. I go up and talk to them, and they're like, oh, wow, I'm like super excited you're here, because I know that we have a relationship, and if I ever have any issues, like, I can just talk to you, whereas some of these distribution companies just drop off cases and leave before I even talk to them. So, we like taking care of our people, and, we want to make sure they're successful just as much as we want to be too,
Are you doing live events at your independent vendors, or are they held primarily like at bars and clubs and things like that? I guess I don't know if the alcohol laws even allow you to do anything at the vendors, but it seems like that would be a great place to at least do a little taste testing if it was legal.
Right, yeah, of course. So on-premise, that is where, and when I say on-premise, I mean like a bar, a club, a restaurant. That is where we do our experiential events. So it goes beyond the tasting. We actually do a lot of our on-premise marketing material. We actually build it in-house. Like, for example, a few weeks ago, I built a 10-foot tall by 9-foot wide hedge that has a big neon Avana sign on it. We really roll out all the stops when it comes to our in-person on-premise events. So we not only bring a wonderful tasting product, but we also create an atmosphere where it's like, wow, this is awesome, and I'm experiencing more than just a great thing on my taste buds, around great people, and the atmosphere is wonderful. And then for off-premise, so your grocery stores, your liquor stores, there we can do tastings, and it's more of an more personal thing. Whereas our on-premise events, it's more of a party, and then our off-premise, you get to talk to me, you get to talk to one of our co-founders like Austin or our sales director. You get to talk to somebody that's actually been to the fields where we pick our agaves from, which is really awesome experience for the consumer, because not only are you just, you're not just talking to somebody that, was just hired randomly because they're great at pouring or whatever. You're talking to somebody that really knows their product in and out, and you get to hear about it before you buy it. So yes, we do love doing pourings with our retail partners that are off-premise, and it's just a wonderful way to connect with our consumers.
It sounds like such a great way to build brand evangelists, too, because you're just really connecting on that one-to-one basis, and then that organic aspect of this really highly engaged fans spreading the word is obviously working super well for you. So what kind of products are coming out next?
So right now we have a organic Margarita and an organic Paloma. They both come in a 12-ounce can, and we sell them in 4-packs. A lot of off-premise locations will group the 4-packs together, so it's kind of like a variety 8-pack kind of deal. So what the future looks like, so the big staples for us is low calories, 0 grams of sugar, because something that we do and kind of take pride in is a lot of products that come out with 0 grams of sugar, they either use a really unhealthy, not safe sugar alcohol to make it sweet, or they use some type of artificial sweetener in it. And we use absolutely no artificial sweeteners, so you don't get that kind of weird after bitter taste or aftertaste with a burn in it. It tastes just like you're drinking something that has a proper amount of sweetness to it without that kind of fake feeling. So that's one of our things going forward. We want to keep that same style in all of our products. So next we actually have coming out will be a glass bottle Margarita and Paloma and a mango Margarita as well. And those will be a little higher alcohol. So right now we're very mindful on the alcohol side. We're about 4.5%, which there's a lot of reasons for that, as far as, health conscious sides to it and mindful drinking and being refreshing and that kind of thing. Now this next one will be closer to 6%. And so it's a little bit more of an authentic cocktail without actually, knocking you on your butt. And then we also are launching at the end of this summer, which I'm the most excited about, will be our 750 milliliter bottle of organic Blanco tequila. And that one I'm excited about just because the tequila world has gone so much into high batch size, produce as much as we can, push it with a celebrity, that's losing its authentic Jalisco touch. And so we're going to bring that back into our organic bottle and sell it locally in LA and then branch out from there. So that's what I'm the most excited about.
Okay, so I wanted to ask you, how soon do you think it will be before you are hanging out with George Clooney, based on your obvious success in the tequila industry?
Oh, I don't know, but I will say anybody that is tied into the tequila industry, we do find ourselves in Jalisco a lot. So, I've met some interesting people there, and who knows, maybe sooner than later.
Well, and the question that I had for you, in all seriousness, by the way, if you do get connected with George, just let me know, because I'd like to hang out with him too. But on a more serious
Where's your husband?
note, who doesn't want to hang out with George Clooney?
Is he on your list? Is he on your list? In case you meet somebody like that.
I am not revealing who was on my list. Okay, that is not the topic for today's episode. However, I do want to give a shout out to my amazing husband, whose birthday is Christmas Eve. So he's the Christmas angel. And yeah, but who doesn't want to hang out with George? Come on. And if you're hanging out with George, you're hanging out with Brad, not just the Brad that we're interviewing, but the other Brad. So you know what I'm saying. Anyway, in all seriousness, though, are you going to expand past tequila into vodka or rum, or are you just going to stay in the tequila lane?
Yeah, so we have looked into vodka, and we actually had a full plan, and we actually have already formulated some organic vodka RTDs, so an organic vodka-based wild berry acai, kind of more seltzery style drink, and we also have a strawberry lemonade that's organic vodka-based that we formulated, and they both taste incredible. We are actually kind of leaning more towards, rather than coming out with those flavors, launching more tequila flavors, and that's just because our consumer base has loved the tequila. And looking at it on a mindful health conscious standpoint, tequila performs really well as far as, ounces of a alcohol to calorie ratio. So as far as, drinking and trying to, keep it all clean, we love the tequila aspect. So I think we're actually going to stick with tequila, even though we have a vodka formulation ready to go. So kind of an interesting take for us. But yeah, leaning towards the tequila.
So how do you think you're going to be able to compete with the big, huge companies out there? You mentioned companies like Bacardi and Coke, and et cetera, et cetera. You've got Truly and White Claw and all those other companies out there. I understand you have a uniqueness on the organic side. But, these are companies that have billions and billions of dollars just for marketing, not even anything else.
Right.
And how are you going to compete against those companies?
Absolutely. So, Jose Cuervo actually launched a product that is exactly like ours. It's, same amount of calories, same amount of alcohol, same amount of sugar. They're not organic. We go down to Jose quite a bit. Have seen how they produce their tequila. It's a very different method. It's not, as authentic or true. That being said, no matter how much more real we believe that our product is, it takes a little bit more than that. So what we're creating with Avana is not only a commitment to our customers to never let volume overtake our quality. We're also creating, like I said, with the on-premise events and with our branding, we're creating an atmosphere that a ton of marketing dollars can't create. That's why a lot of the in-person events and the in-person marketing and grassroots is really big for us. Kind of similar, one of the companies we look up to is Nosotros, right? So we really admire how they've kind of done that ahead of us, and we're kind of following in their footsteps, creating the same atmosphere that, no amount of money can just buy, right? So that's what we're working on, keeping things transparent with our formulas, and that's our biggest differentiator and how we're going to hold our own against them.
So I have one last question, and then Tracy will ask, and about your company culture. How do you keep your company culture going when you're in different spots? So, for instance, you have a distributor in the Midwest, you have a distributor in California, you're in different places. How do you keep that company culture going, especially nowadays during COVID and the remoteness?
Right, yeah.
They drink a lot.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. A lot going on. So one thing that I do is before I do business with anybody, whether it's a distributor or it's going to be a partner or even a salesperson, I go and meet with them in person, and we talk about things aside from, how good of a salesperson are you or how many trucks do you have. I talk to them about morals and, where they see themselves in 5 to 10 years and find out what that is and see if it aligns with, good values that I believe, support just the human condition getting better and becoming higher quality. So that's something that I do. I basically go and make sure that everything is lined up with us in person and myself. And so that's kind of what we do. And we also just make sure that we're not partnering with anybody that has, some kind of weird ulterior motive that's not going to benefit our consumers.
Thank you very much. You're listening to KHS 1220, 98.1 FM.
Thank you for tuning in to the Ask Brian radio show. You can listen to us every Thursday on KTHS AM 1220 and FM 98.1 or via Facebook Live or anytime wherever you listen to your podcasts. Visit AskBrian.com to join the conversation and ask us your business questions, and we'll answer them on our next episode. That's AskBrien.com.